Hello everyone, this is TobeTada with another video of crypto trading. Thanks for checking by, and let's dive right in. So of course today let's talk again about Bitcoin, and I think this is getting particularly interesting because first of all, we've seen here a confirmation of our prediction we've done in a couple videos in the past here. That was that basically if the price was going to rise here, that it was going to meet a resistance here, which was constructed by basically here having a symmetrical triangle here, and this upper side is basically constructed by these peaks here, and then making a line here which gives us this area of around 4,100. And as you can see, the price in the last couple of days has not really breached here, and as of course expected, there were some breakouts at the top and some low points we had here too, but basically the price is holding here. So that's the first really good prediction here, and that is, it's not really a secret in charting. You basically do this by connecting the peaks here or the lows in that case, and that gives you a resistance line or a support line. Now the other interesting movement of Bitcoin is basically that if we look at this from a larger perspective, we have of course here the first cycle, and that was from the beginning to the end, and we've talked about this too, that depending on the trading period ended here, which would give us 44 days, or here, which would give us 54 days. And that is actually now the same length as the current cycle, which is, as you can see, 50 days. So basically, this first cycle, which was made up of this upward moving phase here, and then a fairly long downward moving phase, is reflected within this second cycle by this upward moving phase. But as you can see, obviously, after this correction, the S&P movement is getting very, very extended. So basically, this does not quite fit in the time scale, at least, the first cycle. So in that case, we would have had to have a B movement here and basically a C movement going down here, which would give us about the same pattern in times of course, the pattern itself, but also in time of the length of this pattern. And as you can see, we're basically now in this very extended B wave, and there is a good possibility, because we're now reaching the end here of the symmetrical triangle. As you can see here, there is not so much room anymore here. In fact, there is not enough room to complete another cycle here. So basically, even if this would drop the price here very steeply, perhaps something like that, the room here does not really let a third cycle play out very nicely. So there would have to be something like that, and then a correction here. And you can see the peak here would be quite lower than the peaks of the first two cycles, and that's normally not what happens in a sense, and especially because the pattern tends to move out of this wedge here. So there is actually a scenario we have been talking about in this B movement here, and you can see it up here, and that is basically a breakout. And although I'm not quite sure that this is going to happen, of course, I want to talk about it because I have seen it happen in the past quite a couple of times, and that is basically that when we have here an upward movement and then the correction, at this point of the B movement here, of the correction, we actually see a breakout to the top. And you can see if this is basically would be going perhaps something like that, then the S&P movement would be part of this here, 1, 2, and this would be actually the third wave of a perhaps 5-wave movement here. So it would probably go up here or even further up here. We'd have to see, but basically this B movement of the correction here starts to be the 1, 2, 3 wave of going up, and that's really nice to see how these fractals relate to one another, and it's important to be aware of this. And I think because we're basically having this scenario here with this wedge here, and the fact that we're basically we should be basically in this B movement here, but as you can see it's getting very extended, and the chance that if we stay even longer here is, I think, speaks actually more for a breakout scenario to the top here. Again, because I think if would be a correction downward here, there is not enough room here for this wave to play out, and of course that could mean we'd have a breakout maybe here or so, but I've noticed that before this happens, normally there is a movement, a major movement ahead of this next cycle here, and that would speak or point towards this scenario here. And I'm of course a little bit cautious here, but I think the chance is there, and would have to basically see what happens in the next days, of course, and for example see if the price moves along this resistance line. In that case we'd maybe see something like here, where we had a fairly prolonged period of, I think, like 10 days, 12 days, where the price just linearly decreases, but as you can see then increases again here. So perhaps there is some sort of repeating pattern here, and that would actually speak also, or one supporting argument for that is that if we basically go back here and move this triangle to where it was back a couple of weeks ago, you can see that by connecting the peaks here we get the resistance line, and it was broken here after we had that decrease here, and we're actually in a very similar situation now, where when we construct this triangle, that after perhaps some extended period of decrease, it would go up again. So thanks for letting me know, and see you in the next video. Bye.